So looking at the Chinese market, which you're focusing on, I think you can make a distinction between, say, inbound tourists and consumers in China.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
how,
And
how's,
and there's, and the, quite frankly, there's a further distinction that we'd even make, which is the Chinese diaspora
yeah,
is possibly the most important marketing tool that I would suggest that we have, but beyond that, even most Australian companies have. There's been some conversation about it. There's not a lot, but the Chinese nationals and the Australian Chinese, and I don't know what the proper term is, but basically people of Chinese ethnicity who live in Australia um, are amazing. They still have a dialogue back home,
yeah,
and yet they're embedded here, they're rooted here, their lives are here, and they understand very much about the appeal and the quality and the things that are available in this market. And for us, it's always been the first wave of visitors for us, the first wave of customers for us, really was the diaspora. You can talk about Chinese students, the families that have lived here for generations, but they're still regarded as thought leaders, as the people who can talk about the quality. And whether it's us or baby formula or vitamins or what, it's really a homegrown dynamic first for us that then leads into the actual Chinese people in China.
yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
the first steps for you guys were to really target the Chinese diaspora within Australia and Tasmania.
I want to be really careful about the notion of targeted.
Yeah,
I will say to you that they were the first wave of people who we engaged with properly.
yeah,
The distinction that I'll make is that we've never directly targeted Chinese people. For all the talk, we've never created products that are directly for... There's things that we do to have some fun and pay respects, but we don't create things specifically for China. We create things that are specifically us and talk about us, and we present them in ways that are appealing to Chinese. And again, I'll always come back to that pure, clean, and natural. If as we talked before, if you're living in a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 city in China, and the air pollution's terrible, and the quality of the water, and maybe that the food that you have is potentially tainted, you're going to question every single thing in your life about quality and what's it going to do to me. If you can guarantee, if you can shore up a quality source of that, then you'd probably go for it, if you can afford it, obviously. This is what we do. We play off the strength of pure, clean, and natural of what we do. And that's something that resonates quite, I think resonates amazingly with Chinese. There's an interesting thing about lavender, and it's something, again, that we've talked a lot about and explored. And so, again, I will say this with the greatest respect, that I don't fully understand it because I'm not Chinese. But again, my understanding of having lived in a number of different Asian markets, and particularly I've lived in Hong Kong for a number of years, Chinese traditional medicine is still so important, still massively important. It is, you have the Western medicines which coexist right beside the traditional Eastern medicines. And lavender is right on the fringe of a traditional medicine. It's not in the Chinese sort of botany, if you will. It's not in the history, but as a very natural product that makes you feel better, it's right there beside it. It can coexist quite nicely. And part of the success that I attribute to what we do, and the reason that what China has picked up so readily, is because they have a culture of looking for things that are very, very natural, that make you feel better within their traditional medicine set. And as I said, that lavender is a relatively new thing in the last 100, 200, how many hundred years, but over the thousands of years that China's had to develop its own. But it coexists quite nicely within that spectrum. And so we've been able to talk about that in terms of pure, clean, and natural, makes you feel better, and it resonates beautifully. Yeah. So I will say to you 100% that we don't create things directly for China market, but we market it to them in ways that we believe that they will understand. And that to me is really, really critical, because in my opinion, the moment that you start directly targeting Chinese people, they will get very, very cynical. They'll get very, very unsure about why they're being directly targeted. What you want to have is the best presentation of what you are, the authenticity, if you will. You present what it is that you are, but you have to make sure that your message is tailored, is appropriate to ensure that it's understood from a cultural, forget language, take language out for the moment, but certainly in terms of a cultural heritage and a need state, that's absolutely critical.
Yeah.